Okay. Okay. Description. The course will examine group purpose, membership, stages, and process. How you guys fit into it as leaders, and how do you fit into it as participants? So we'll be going through those things because, understanding your role as a participant helps you to understand what others are going through that are coming in. Okay. Emphasis is placed on small group experience and its application both professionally and in a local church context. Okay. So the objectives are upon completion of this. You guys can read through that. So students will understand different models of group counseling theories within. We might go through some ACA Code of Ethics, on how to run a group, all of those things. And I had this in here before. Students will gain the experience of participating. You'll get that. You won't have to lead. In the past, we've kind of done where you would lead one time, but the people who are bringing in some psychoeducation have some really good information coming in. So, and processing through that. So I just thought that might be a little bit more beneficial for y'all. Okay. So requirements, so class attendance and participation for sure every week. And students are expected to attend class lectures as scheduled and engage in discussion of presented topics each week online with Zoom. Okay. Students will be graded on their participation in weekly group counseling meetings in class. Personal involvement during class time is an essential element. You guys know that. You guys have been through all these classes, and participation is key in all of it. It's the way you learn, right? So so that's 200 points. Group participation and paper, so 150. So students will participate in and have the opportunity to lead and co-lead a group in the classroom. Um, Hang on a second. Oh, never mind. So what this is going to be replaced with is uh, okay. So you won't have to lead. You'll just be participating in it. So students will be responsible for running you won't be responsible for that, but you'll be responsible for participating in it. And then during the course of the class, the student is to write a 3 to 4 page paper regarding their observations of that group that you were in. Okay. So you won't have to lead, but you'll participate and then write 3 to 4 page paper on your observations in the group. And this class is mainly going to be your participation. That's the biggest component of it. Okay. So students will be graded 50% on the written assignment and 50% on your participation in the group. Okay. So does that feel better than having to lead it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So the paper will be overall observation of the group. Um, and then how the lectures and readings of the class related to how they experienced the group. So each week we'll be going through and learning how to lead. And then how did you even observe your leaders in it? Did they do a good job? Did they do a bad job? Did they bring in um, Christian principles? All of those things. Okay. What was your experience in participating? So just take the leading and co-leading out. What was your experience in participating? How did your experience of the different stages of group compare to what you learned from the lectures and the textbooks? So really what you're looking for is, okay, through all of the stages that we have gone through, um, how did I feel during these? During the forming stage, during the norming stage, during the performing, and so on. How did I feel during those stages? How did I interact? Did I process? How did I process all of those things, right? What was my experience? And then any other details that were observable from the group experience. Um, okay, so then here's another one. Okay, so this will just require you to go visit a group. Um, so students will be expected to observe self-help group sessions within your community and provide a four-page paper regarding your reactions and the summary of the sessions that you attend. Requirements within the paper. So, what type of group was it? Just think of, I know Abundant Life has regeneration, um, which is acceptable, even if you're leading in it, all that stuff too. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking through if you're going to attend regen, we just have to let the leaders know. We'll figure that out if that's one of your things that you're going to do. So what type of group was it? Who was the group leader? What were your observations of the group? What were your observations of the group leader? How did they lead? Did they lead from, a what was their style? Did they use empathy? Did they use a lot of education in it? What did that look like? Um, Discuss your perspective of the benefits gained by the members of the group. So as you observed others in the group, what do you feel that they were gaining? Think about you're going to an AA meeting or something, and you're sitting through that and you see everybody in the group and you're hearing what they're hearing. How do you think they're benefiting from the way the group was ran? Um, and you'll learn about this. What were the benefits of this group? Meaning, like AA is an open group, meaning there's no set people in it. So, there's always people coming and going. How would that affect your group? Then there's closed groups that we'll kind of learn about too, which you have a set amount of people and you don't allow new people in until the group's over. Things like that. So what was that like for you? Let's see, what were some of the drawbacks you could see of attending this group? How would you improve this group? So that is your group observation
I have
paper.
a question about that.
Yeah.
Uh, what if, are we able to write about our past experience doing something like Regen?
Let's see.
Because,
Go ahead.
or even being a Regen leader, like anything along those lines? Past experience? Because I'm not currently in any of that.
Yeah,
But
no.
unless we sit in like open groups or something
I mean,
again.
the only reason can you go attend one?
Sure.
Can you go back?
Do an open group.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
yeah, just go through one. I would
Or
rather
crowd
because I
work.
would hate to say that, yeah, you can base it upon what you did, and then everybody else has been to a group in the past, you know what I mean? And base it upon it's really about going out and kind of observing a group now under the context of, these seven things, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You could go attend one meeting and even draw upon it. What would even be awesome in it is if you could put this is the experience I had this time versus what I did when I was going through it in a different time. That would be a really good thing to hear.
Okay.
Yeah, good
Cool.
question. I
Just
appreciate
thought I'd
that.
ask.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I
John,
appreciate that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm leading currently in Regen right now. So right now we're in a position where some of the participants are starting to lead a little bit because we're at the tail end of our 12 steps.
Yeah.
So can I use that with what I'm currently doing in my group, either as my co-leader leading or someone else in the group leading, or not myself, right? It wouldn't be
Yeah. Yeah,
myself.
exactly. Yeah, just yeah, as a co-leader, yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
No, that'd be good. Great questions. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, so reading assignment and final exam. So reading assignment of course is the book that you're in. And then the final exam is an open book test, right? I think it's 50 questions, open book. I'll give it to you kind of near the end, you know. I don't think it's open right now. Maybe to the end, but it's open book. So just use your book um, through it. And then, okay, so group development project and presentation. So students will create and develop a self-help group with the potential of applying it to their internship site or ministry and present the group development idea to the class. The project will ask students to think through and articulate all the necessary elements in preparing to run their own group. Papers will be due before the last class and presentations will be given the last week of class. You know what? Just create a group and we won't have to um, because there's six of you. And well, maybe if you all, here's what we could do. If you all just did 10 minutes, is that something? Okay. So we could do 10 minutes, but just put together, you know, what the group looks like. I'm going to see if I can't get you an example of one that somebody's done and, you know, just kind of do that. So in the past, people have done stuff like a marriage and they used a lot of Gottman information, right? And so they put something together. Here's, you know, what it looks like week one, week two, week three, and all that stuff too. So you're just putting it together the shell of what it looks like. You know, you don't have to put like together the presentations for each week. It's just what information you want to that you would want to give. Does that make sense? So yeah, you don't have to put presentations or anything like that together for each week or whatever. It's like, so week one, marriage, we want to learn conflict resolution, right? And so this is the intervention we're going to use, how to do um, active listening, something like that, right? So you know, just put that together and yeah. And I'll see if I can't find an example for you and put it out there and let you guys know. Sound good? Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions about these?
With the exam,
Yeah.
is it going to be like essay style?
No,
Because I'm just
it's a multiple choice.
okay. I'm just wondering because like the book that I'm getting from Calvary through like the Mobius program, I think is like the eighth edition. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be potential issues with it not having like answers that would be in there or anything like that, if you know.
No, I don't think so. I think it was I don't think so. Just let me know. I mean, if it is,
Okay.
it shouldn't. I mean, it should be based upon the biggest criteria of it, of what, you know, of what each book would have had in it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because really just
And
go ahead.
And then I was just gonna just say with the reading in general, is there going to be like is there like kind of a general guideline as to how far in you should be at each point of the class,
So
you know?
we're going to go through. Let's see here. Let me look at the very first of it. So we're just going to go through the first 9 chapters,
Okay.
not 10 or 11. And so each week we'll be, going over what those look like.
Okay, cool.
So you can look at it as about a chapter a week.
Mhm.
And because it's 8 weeks and there's nine, so there'll be one where we'll have to throw two in and go over those.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. And probably I would assume chapter 4 is one that we will do a little bit less in because it's the theories and all of that stuff too, which you can read through those. And I just don't want to, you can read through the theories and how they apply to group and all that stuff too. We might do a little bit less on that one, but because I want to focus more on the stages and things like that, and what that looks like. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Rumor has it that the licensure exam is like 20 to 40% group counseling stuff.
Yeah, the funny thing about it was when I studied for I was like going, well, they're not going to have much on groups. They're not going to have much on vocational counseling, career counseling. So I didn't study. Those are the two least I studied about, and it was the most. Yeah, it's funny. It's supposed to be different every year, but that's what I hear every year is there's a lot of group in it. So yeah, so
Did
just make sure you read this a lot.
did you still pass first try?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's here's the thing about the test. It's it, it you're just going to be angry when you leave after you take it because you're going to go, I don't know if I passed or not. Actually, here's the thing. When I took it, it's like 12 years ago. You had it was a bubble test and you had to send it away and then you had to wait 6 or 8 weeks for your results. Now you almost get them automatically. If it's the NCE, you'll get something saying, you're in this range or whatever because they have to do it over a period of time so they get, averages of everybody. But the CPCE, is that what it's called? The comps or whatever, if you take those, I don't know. Um, you get those automatically. So you should know pretty quickly. But every question in it, so I went through Rosenthal's stuff, read the book, listened to the CDs, took tests from that, did a lot of practice tests. That's what I really think you should do is take a lot of practice tests when taking the test, when studying for it. But the way it really looks is they'll ask a question and then there'll be four answers to it. One of them you can just throw away. And then another one that'll be fairly close, just enough to confuse you. But then there'll be two on there that are like really close. And you have to choose between those two, it seems. So it was just, you just feel like you were being scammed, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is, just, yeah. But, you get through it. Just practice on how to read the questions and answer them. Just practice on that the most. So anyway, but yeah, a lot of group questions. Okay. Okay. Any other questions on this? You can read through the rest. It's got the assignments in here and all that good stuff. So, okay, let me go to files and we will get into presentation today. Okay, so groups, the process and practice of it. So, written by, looks like it's just the whole family of the Coreys writing the book. This one was written in 2018. Okay, we reviewed the syllabus, and so here's what we'll be going through today. What is a group? Types of groups, multicultural aspects of working with diversity within groups, and group therapeutic factors, what members should be experiencing if they're fully in doing the group. Okay, what's the group leaders' functions? So what group leaders do. And then if we have time, I have a video of a group demonstration. It's pretty good. If we don't have time, I'll put it out there and you guys can watch it. So how about this? Think about this for a second. What groups are you a part of? And why do you think you're a part of these groups? What groups are you a part of? You have church, that's a group. And why are you a part of that, right? Well, your faith, community. I mean, there's much more than the faith part of aspect of church. There's helping others, loving people well, right? Community, building community, helping, all types of
Serving.
serving. Yeah, absolutely. What other types of groups are you part of?
Family.
There you go. Big group right there.
Family.
Family.
First one, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Generally, people think of all these outside groups, and that's the last one they think of, but you got it right off. Good job. What other groups are you a part of?
I know for me, like, I'm part of like the local like hardcore music scene as well as like skateboarding scene.
Yeah.
So see people whenever I am doing either of those things, and you recognize people often, you share interests and etc.
Yeah, so let's go with that for a second. When you see others that are in these same groups, what's it like?
It's nice. Like I'll use the example of music. So um, I'll go to like a show, and the shows I go to are real small. They're in a room no bigger than, you know, a living room sometimes. And so you recognize people, you see them, and it's nice to like talk about other bands you like and see their different shirts and be like, oh yeah, I saw them back in March and this and that. And you know, in this, in the case of hardcore, that's really funny is, there's moshing, and it's like this like kind of seemingly, it's this outlet, it's like it's this big expression and outlet for like emotion. And so it's like really nice to see those people, and it's kind of fun because it's like you get to do it and everybody's game for it and down for it, as long as you're doing it, you know respectfully and ethically.
Yeah.
um and so it's nice because you kind of have that like mutual thing, and
Yeah,
then it's always like, all right, cool, what shows you going to next? All right, sweet, I'll see you there, kind of deal.
that's awesome. So what I'm hearing is there's community in it. You recognize others, and then you get this feeling of belonging.
Hmm.
So in this group, you get this feeling of belonging and acceptance and all of these aspects. So that's perfect. That's what we want to build within counseling groups too, is that same kind of deal where I recognize you have some of the same qualities I do, or same issues, or whatever it is. So building community. Good. Thanks, Ryan. That's good. What other types of groups?
I was thinking about being in a group of just like my coworkers, like everyone that works at the same place as me. We're in some sort of group.
Yeah. So we're all, when you're at a job, generally, if you work for a company, there's mission statements, vision statements, all of this, and you're all moving towards the same common goals together. Good one. Yeah, absolutely. It's very good. How
We
about,
have a small group in our church.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no, go. No, go.
We have a small group on our church that we started with special needs parents, which is really cool because we study the Bible, but we also talk about being parents of special needs and we support each
Mhm.
other. So it's that we're talking about the sense of belonging, having the same um, issues. Of course, each child is different, but we help each other, like, navigating through health system and school or therapies, and it's really cool to see like families helping each other when they need some kind of specific support, they are going through something, and it's been really nice to have been there for. We have had this group for 6 years now, almost 6 years. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. But feel the difference. So if somebody didn't have a special needs child, they almost can't fathom what that's like, right? You can't just be a member of this group that you're in, Erica, without having a special needs child. And so that's where
Yeah.
the relationship is built, is around that part of the belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's interesting because usually the families that they have a special needs and come to church, it's really hard for them to connect to church. Many times, often it's hard because the child is not participating in the usual and normal stuff that church does. And so having this small group, they get connected really quick with us, and then they find their group, and
Yes,
they feel that they belong. So
that's awesome.
it's been nice to see families coming and quickly engaging with us and being part of it.
Mhm. And so the other part is it's part, even though your church is there and you're doing many, many different things, that's like a limb of your church, right? That's
Mhm.
part of your church. So it's part of who you guys are, where some other ministries may not have that type of thing, but they may have separate.
Yeah.
But it is. It's how we belong to each other. And it allows other people to join in that community too, as volunteers or something like that. But the special thing that you guys have together is that sense of camaraderie and all that, because you know the struggles, you know the issues, you know all of those things.
Mhm.
There's that bond. So I always tell this one story. Somebody said this to me. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, they went to England. They got off the plane. They're walking through the plane. They know nobody, right? So here's all of these people in the airport and everything too. He looks over and here's this guy coming at him, right? And he's like, "Oh, what?" And he looks up. He's got a Chiefs hat on. So he's like, "Oh, I have my Chiefs hat on." So they saw each other. So they singled each other out because they both had Chiefs hat on. So it's that love, it's that group, it's that community that they could share together. And they didn't know each other, but they felt that community with one another and that bond across the pond. You know what I'm saying? So we're always looking for how we can belong together and have community together and things like that too. So that's what we're always wanting to establish within counseling groups, right? All right, good job, guys. Okay. So we become group members the instant we were born. We're just like Erica said, we're born into a family. Well, that's a group. We're born as girls or boys. We're, born into that group, right? The differences in those. Because we're human, over time we join many groups. There's friendship groups. We said those. Professional groups. Jolie said that. Interest groups, educational groups, and so on. So we can be in many, many different groups too, as well. Okay. So why group counseling? Okay. Well-run groups can provide members with a place to give and receive feedback. So, and they can gain insight into their personal dynamics, what's going on inside me, in my mind, in my thoughts, and in my physical, maybe even my physical reactions to some things. We can gain insight into that, and address aspects of their lives they would like to change, okay, in a group. And the beauty of it is too, if you've had somebody in that group that has made those changes, and they're like, maybe they're leading it because they have made these changes and they know the struggles, they know all of these things that others are going through, and they can provide that empathy. Number two, individuals are wounded in relationships. And this is big right here. And they can heal in relationships. We do. We heal in relationships. It's hard to heal on your own. But if we have people who understand who we are, we can heal much quicker. Oftentimes, however, the people who have wounded us are not the people with whom we heal with. Now, if we're married, right, you may have a marriage and you go to counseling and we want to heal together, right? But there's a lot of times where we're not going to heal with that person, even if it is marriage. We may be healing with a counselor because of something, infidelity or whatever it may be. It may take others to heal with, okay? Group counseling provides a powerful place for healing. Participants can rewrite old scripts that no longer serve them and practice new ways of being in relationship with others. Effective group leaders provide a safe place that encourages members to participate fully and take risks. So that's what we'll be going through. What's a good leader? They want them to participate. They want them to, and they encourage them to heal in some way. Now, you may get some people in, and we'll go through this, that don't participate well, right? So what do we do with that? Why are they not participating well? Are they avoidant? Are they avoiding? Are they dismissive? Are they there? And we'll even talk about these types of groups. Are they there because they're mandated to be there? Well, try being a leader of some, in a group where your people are mandated to be there and see how happy they are, okay? It's through interpersonal dynamics that we're comforted, supported, challenged, and injured, okay? So we all have a need to belong. We all need to belong. That's what even the Bible is written on love, but love through community, love through service, like we talked about. But it's all about community, right? We all have a need to belong, and groups give members a chance to be the window of Christ's love and model that love. Okay. So in a group, we can accomplish tasks, find support for things that we may be struggling with. The biggest things are we learn about ourselves in it. We learn about others. And and as a leader, you'll be modeling this growth, because if I've been through it, I want to model the growth and success and all that. And then you could be challenged through this whole thing to grow. Okay. I found this in Hebrews 10:24. I like this. We must also consider how to encourage each other to show love and to do good things. We should not stop gathering together with other believers as some are doing. Instead, we must continue to encourage each other even more as we see the day of the Lord coming. Encouragement. And that's what the group should be about, is how do we encourage? Okay. So why do we have groups? Okay. Groups are an excellent treatment choice towards helping people change. When you become counselors, and depending on, what your career choice is, if you work with insurance companies and things like that, they love groups. Why do they love groups? They love groups because it's cheaper for them, right? You can have many, many people in a group, and Generally it's cheaper for them to provide money for counseling and things like that too. That's just part of it. But groups provide a natural laboratory. I love this. They provide a natural laboratory and a sense of community, demonstrating to people that they're not alone. But within that natural laboratory, look at the last one here. It says groups are a small sample of our society and therefore represent how relationships outside of this group see and experience us. So that's a very important piece. I'll say this many, many times this next 8 weeks or so, that what group counseling is a picture of the smaller world. It's a picture of the bigger world outside. So, in group counseling, you want to practice things, you want to work with others within your group, try new things, experience new things. Remember, we read that thing where it says rewrite your history. We want to be able to do that through this group counseling. So it's there to practice for the bigger outside world. Participants have the opportunity to try different strategies, and I like this. Members interpersonal difficulties get played out. So you'll notice things, and you can even call. And as a good leader, you will be calling out things using immediacy, using your helping skills that you learn in group counseling. Okay, group process. So group process, all the elements that are basic to the unfolding of a group from the beginning to the end. Okay, so examples of this that we'll learn: what are group norms? Generating trust and cohesion, very important, right? That's one of the first thing you do. That's what Therapeutic Alliance is about, is being able to generate trust within the group. Conflict and reluctance, intermember feedback. You want to always encourage feedback from others. Healing forces within the group, and then stages of group development that we'll go through. Okay. So, what types of groups are they? Okay. So, you may have this first one. It's called a task group. Okay. And what a task group is, it aims to foster accomplishing identifying work goals. So you'll have these generally within a profession. A task group is generally within a profession, or when you have something that you have a group working towards, okay? The focus of this type of group is to improve processes or identify work goals of that group. And then both leaders and participants of this group tend to want to get down to business quickly. So we don't need introductions of one another. We don't need to learn your background or what your issue is or anything. It's none of that stuff. It's all solution focused stuff. We've got an issue and we've got to provide this solution to it. Leaders must help the group stay focused on the task at hand and not lose their focus, right? So there's not a lot of, tell me how you feel about that, or blah, blah, blah. There's not a lot of that. There's a lot of, okay, we've got this task and let's get down to business and accomplish this. So it's very short term. Hopefully it's short term, depending, on the group. Primary importance is to foster relationships and to meet the group's goals. That's why when you're working at a company, they do a lot of team building exercise, is because when they get down to task group oriented issue or whatever, they want the team working together. And that's why you always do a lot of team building and things like that in companies. Psychoeducational groups. These aim to provide members with targeted education on a variety of psychological issues or informational deficits. So, meaning the group deals with imparting, discussing, and integrating factual information. So, things that are studied, research papers, interventions, theories, things like that. That's all psychoeducational thing that you can provide to your group. So, if you guys have ever seen grief share or divorce care or things like that, there's a tinge of psychoeducation in that because you watch these videos and you're learning, how do I deal with grief? How do I deal with divorce? And so there's informational stuff in it. So it's designed to build skills to change behavior or prevent behaviors by planned skill building exercises. So if you guys know what grief share is, the first part of it, you kind of go over old homework. The second part of it, you watch a DVD, and it's filled with new information about how you can accomplish maneuvering through stages of grief. And then the next thing is you process through what you learned that day, right? And then you make plans for the next group, and there's homework over that time. So that's kind of what that looks like. Psychoeducational, and it's a process group, so it's best of a lot of worlds, okay? Examples of psychoeducational group are substance abuse preventions groups, domestic violence, trauma survivors, weight loss. How do we put something in place that we can learn for each other and then even support each other through it? But there's a lot of learning in it. This type of group presents structured group-specific content, often taught using videotapes, audiocassettes, lectures, DVDs, internet, and so on. Okay. Counseling groups aims at preventative and educational purposes, like we just talked about. There's career groups, educational groups, personal, social, developmental concerns are addressed in all of these. Differs from psychotherapy, meaning like one-on-one, in that it is not aimed at major personality changes, but specific short-term issues. Okay, and as a group solving those. So examples of these counseling groups are coping skills for trauma. So that is so we're not trying to change their personality in any way. We're trying to change an issue that they're going through. So we give them coping skills for trauma, divorce, grief, increasing one's self-esteem, core beliefs, all of these things. We're not trying to change who they are, but a part of what they are. Okay. These generally last a short period of time. Hopefully, the shorter the better if people would get down to business and get through it. Leader's job is to help members see alternatives to their behaviors that they're exhibiting and to challenge members to translate their insights into action plans for change. Can you guys think of some counseling groups, examples of counseling groups? Other than these here, coping skills for trauma, divorce, grief, all those. What other kinds of counseling groups are out there?
I work at a like children's psych hospital, and they do like weekly DBT groups, and they go in and like talk through how to cope with trauma and stuff like that.
Yes, that's awesome. DBT is a really good use for to help with coping skills, things like that for trauma. Anybody else have a thought?
I just started my practicum, and one of the things that the school counselor I was working with was talking to me about was how some of the kids on my case could benefit, she thought could benefit from a group about loss of parents, because like 4 out of 8 of my kids have lost parents.
Like
Either
through death or
like 3 of them through death, and then one of them has an incarcerated parent.
okay.
And so she threw the idea out there that that would be something that she thought could be helpful for me to do, but I don't know. So something
Love
to
that.
something
Yeah.
to think about.
And maybe that's one thing that you know kind of think through and put that to as your paper.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I was wondering if that
Yeah,
would be helpful.
I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, very good. All right. Psychotherapy groups aim at remediation of in-depth psychological problems. Okay, so it's not a counseling group. It's like we are changing you. Okay, it contains a high level of support, caring, confrontation, and other qualities not found in individual counseling, right? Examples, people experiencing depression, eating disorders, anxiety, or post-traumatic stress, and other mental illness like schizophrenia, etc. So these could be long-term and can last for years because individuals with schizophrenia, borderline, things like that, we're looking at things that they're living with. And so it's helping them, we're helping them to cope and learn more about themselves and everything through it. Okay. And that could be long term, could be lifelong in some cases, depending on what it is. Okay. And then you have brief group therapy that is time limited, structured. So you got a curriculum probably, lasts 2 to 3 months and consists of 8 to 12 weekly sessions. So it's time limited, and consistently weekly every week. Facilitators need training in these in group process and brief therapy. The advantage of this brief therapy is this. It's well suited to the needs of both the clients and managed care. So that's where insurance comes in. They love these brief, and they, say, we're only going to pay for 8 sessions. So we want you to go to this group. Cost effective. Well, there you go. Right there. Insurance companies love them. Widely applicable to diverse client populations and problems. So you can think of many, many different things that these brief group things would work for. Can be used in different settings, hospitals, agencies, churches, and so on. Examples would be life coaching, complicated grief reactions, medical illnesses, adjustment issues, and generally it's solution focused and not history driven. What's that mean? Solution focused, not history driven.
Not going to spend a lot of time talking about what got you to this point. You're going to spend your time focused on how to get out of the problem.
Absolutely. Good job. So that's why insurance companies love them, right? Because they're not going to waste time. What insurance companies would say wasting time on past or whatever. They are there to do business, solution focused. Good job. Self-help groups. So this is a different kind of group, right? So their purpose is the education, affirmation, and enhancement of existing strengths of the group members. Existing strengths, self-help. Memberships tend to be open, meaning group composition is constantly changing. There's a lot of good and bad about that, right? And we're going to get into all of what goes on in open groups, closed groups, and all that stuff too. There's usually no leader or there's a no leader or a lay leader. Generally, people are helping each other. Self-disclosure is limited. Their basis tends to be particularly a particular philosophy geared toward the issues at hand, addiction recovery, etc. Self-help groups are increasingly popular and an important referral source for the helping profession. Examples are 12-step groups. Anybody know of one of those? And men's and women's groups and divorce groups. Self-help groups. Okay. Task groups. We just kind of went through that a little bit. So let's just task groups aim to foster accomplishing identified work goals. Remember, it's more kind of corporate. They may or may not have professionally trained leaders. Businesses and industries utilize task groups to address difficulties in completing work. Problems addressed through group dynamic principles may include poor communication, low motivation, sexual harassment, cultural barriers. Task groups might also consist of task forces. So you could have a group, but then you could have subgroups within it. They may have committees. They may have planning groups. It may be something big, or it could just be something small on one little task. But maybe it's like, think about like a whole community organization that's going to get together and they want to build something downtown or whatever. They may have a task force that they put together, task group that addresses all those needs. And they may have subcommittees in that where people can go and research things. Self-disclosure is variable in it. A lot of times you don't need self-disclosure. Okay. Psychoeducational groups aim to educate well-functioning group members who want to acquire information and skills in a certain area of living. Okay. Group dynamics are utilized to assist in learning and highlight concepts. So these groups are found in schools and in the community and are facilitated by a trained professional. So psychoeducational. So somebody who is trained. So I went to Seattle, Washington, to the Gottman Institute and got trained on how to present, what was it? 7 principles for making marriage work. So you don't get certified in it, you get trained in it. So they don't ever have certification in that particular thing. So they just have trainers. So they would train the trainer. And then I brought it back to Abundant Life and I did it for probably 2 or 3 years. But they have somebody who's highly specialized in presenting that and leading the group. Self-disclosure is variable, but usually less than in counseling and psychotherapy groups. And examples may be communication skills, parenting, could be marriage, conflict resolution, anger management groups, etc. How to educate others on certain tasks. Okay. So counseling groups are created for preventative measures, educational purposes, and they utilize different methods. So they could use theories, could use curriculums, could use a lot of different things to put your groups together. Just like what Maddie's talking about in her group. She has to decide, do I want to use a particular theory? Do I want to, what's my demographics? Do I just want boys? Do I just want girls? Do I want a mix of both? How much trauma? What am I going to bring in for that? Is it going to be DBT? Is it going to be EMDR? What is it going to be? So there's a lot of things to consider in when you're creating these groups, and then the focus is on who your audience is, right? How can I help them the most? So these are just going over kind of what we went through. Counseling groups, what do they what are psychotherapy groups, right? What do they do? They are aimed at remediation of in-depth psychological problems. So remember that. What psychotherapy groups are. They're usually closed groups. So meaning they probably last 8 to 12 weeks. They're closed. It means you don't admit people from week to week. Membership should be closed. Duration is longer than some groups. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was confusing that with a counseling group. Psychotherapy is one that may be longer. I'm sorry, like schizophrenia and so on. I apologize for that. Focuses on their personality reconstruction. So this could be lifelong type. The focus is on conscious and unconscious motivation. Therapy groups may meet for years on end. Okay. Okay. Who are you? What is your identity? Right? Yeah. So when we go into groups, we always want to process through who we are and what is our identity, right? So here are some group therapeutic factors to consider. Let's see what time it is here. You know what? We've been going an hour and 15 minutes. Let's do this. Let's take, is 10-minute break good? Is that good enough? Let's come back at 7:23 and get started again. Okay. Take a little break before we get into this next section.